Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Dude podcast. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award-winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity, designed for more than just therapists. If you're a helping professional in any way, Diversity in Clinical Practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. And it's available in paper and audiobook versions for your convenience. And if you haven't heard it yet, I invite you to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone, where I offer a positive and practical perspective on how to navigate unintentional offenses in daily life. To date, it's been viewed over 500,000 times. Check it out for yourself, and if you're encouraged by it as well, share it with a friend. And whether it be through my one-on-one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author or speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world one strengthened relationship at a time. So, today I want to share with you an encouraging perspective on race-specific versus race-neutral care. As we move forward into another year, many of you are reevaluating various aspects of your lives, including what efforts you'll make and choose to no longer make, what services you'll provide and no longer provide, as well as what services you'll receive or no longer receive. Staying true to my mental health counseling area of expertise, I know that many people are using the transition to a new year to consider whether taking the leap and beginning a professional relationship with a therapist would be in their best interests. Sure, in many ways, the long-standing stigma around receiving mental health and support may not have instantly vanished into thin air. However, the abundance of life stressors within and outside of one's power to control has the potential to make the benefits outweigh those risks in hopes of making healthier changes in one's life to make the future better than the past. All that being said, for many individuals considering taking this step to invest their time and emotional energy into strengthening their mental health and well being, there's another perceived risk awaiting to be overcome. That being the risk of making oneself vulnerable to a therapist who does not share their racial or ethnic background or identity. As you might imagine, there are a lot of factors that contribute to someone making such a decision. I've had the pleasure of hearing firsthand many of the internal as well as external considerations that people wrestle with when making such a decision. So much so that they can feel like they can't discuss it with anyone out of fear that their motives might be misunderstood or perceived to be worse than they actually are. And just in case you or someone you know may now or may ever be in the process of making such a decision, I'd like to offer a few considerations to keep in mind to help you in your decision making efforts. Consideration number one: it's okay to prefer race specific care sometimes. One of the things I hear very often is that people often feel afraid to admit that their preference to obtain support from someone who looks like them is real. They fear this because they fear other people concluding that the reason they prefer someone who looks like them is because they judge, disapprove of, or otherwise think less of people who don't look like them. And while all it takes is one person who actually thinks this way to make many people believe that everyone with this preference thinks this way, I'd like you to reassure you that I am continually pleasantly surprised by people genuinely expressing how this is not the case. In reality, many people prefer race specific care from people who look like them because the idea of being vulnerable and opening up to someone is already scary and risky. And the idea that someone whose job it is to offer such support is vulnerable and can be vulnerable in a way that scares them and can misunderstand them culturally, and despite their well intentioned efforts, could judge things that they don't understand and cause more harm than good, unintentionally abusing the vulnerability that's offered is even more scary. In contrast, for many, race specific care increases the likelihood of not having to waste time explaining cultural misunderstandings before help can be provided. Instead, skipping this beginner stage of the professional relationship building effort, and in many ways providing a chance to develop an even deeper connection and make even more meaningful progress that can hopefully be maintained long after the supportive relationship concludes. This potential benefit is often considered worth the risks and worth the wait. That being said, a second consideration is this: race neutral care is often more beneficial than expected. Why do I say this? Well, because I will readily admit that there are benefits to receiving care from someone who already likely understands some things, saving you from having to explain everything first. There are also many, many ways in which you can benefit from support that doesn't require cultural similarity or unique cultural understanding in order to be beneficial. As a mental health professional, I know that there are times that I've shared cultural heritage with someone that has been reassuring to them up front, and it also helped build and enhance the understanding that can occur from my efforts to help, simply because my previous experience with things similar to that which they're struggling with gives me a head start in helping identify potential solutions and the grace to not judge their struggle along the way. And still, since not everyone who I support as a therapist shares my cultural background, I've also been grateful that this difference has not been a barrier to me providing quality, beneficial, and impactful support for years. In many ways, despite the variety of culturally influenced contributing factors or completely unrelated factors, depression can not only look similar across cultures, but it can also feel similar. And most importantly, can similarly benefit from caring support, and practical strategies that can help overcome depression, no matter the cultural identity of who's offering that support. Same thing goes for anger management, anxiety, struggles with addiction, marriage and family dynamics, and more. Even without previous comparable cultural life experiences, quality care can be given, and positive benefits can come as a result. Both of these insights put together lead nicely into a third consideration, and that is that cross cultural competence growth is possible. Many people hold to the belief that if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. And while this is a nice and convenient quote at times, it's scary when you think about making decisions about who you will and who you will not allow to help you meet a significant need in your life. Staying with the mental health care conversation, as I acknowledge the benefits of race specific care and the non contradictory benefits of race neutral care, it is worth noting that even if the person providing the care doesn't automatically or already share and possess the wisdom and empathy that comes from similar cultural life experiences, that doesn't mean that all hope is lost. In fact, if that person is committed to providing the best care possible to everyone whom they serve, and not just the people who look like them, then they have the opportunity to make intentional efforts to learn about experiences like yours outside of their own personal and professional experiences. Sure, they can learn more about you and people like you during their work with you. But in order to ensure that you don't have to feel burdened by the need to teach the person who you need help from everything they need to know before they can help you, they can instead initiate learning opportunities on their own outside of their help from you through a variety of sources, allowing you to build upon or clarify or even personalize whatever it is they've taken the initiative to learn outside of you rather than needing you to teach them from scratch. This is not only helpful because of the information gained and the therapeutic benefits it can provide, but it also has a benefit of showing that their professional effort to learn more about the person who they're supporting, even when they don't personally have to, can have a big impact on building professional, connected relationship of genuine care and empathy. With all these things in mind, my hope for you is that you will consider all possibilities in seeking out care that you need, whether from race specific or race neutral providers. Evaluate both the pros and the cons. Evaluate your specific needs, as well as the degree to which you can risk taking a chance on someone new. And if you have a preference for one, but only the other is available, consider whether it will be beneficial to make the most of the one that is available, rather than stay in the struggle alone for longer than is necessary, waiting for your preference to become available. And while I utilize the support that can come from a mental health professional for this conversation today as an example, the challenge of navigating race specific versus race neutral services extend way beyond the field of healthcare alone. The legitimate need to ensure that race specific care doesn't directly or indirectly perpetuate negative stereotypes and biases should not override or deter people from maximizing unique benefits that can come from race specific care whenever possible. And the benefits of race neutral care should not be minimized just because it doesn't meet every possible need available. Efforts can be made to intentionally acknowledge its limitations while also maximizing its benefits as well. Personally, I very much appreciate the opportunity to provide care to people from my community, especially when there's been legitimate past experiences contributing to their cautions regarding seeking care for people who don't share their cultural background. However, knowing that there's only so much support that I can provide in any day, week, month, or year, and that there's only a small percentage of people who look like me who offer this kind of particular support. This is the reason why I began providing positive and shame free multicultural awareness and diversity trainings in the first place. And I have been pleasantly surprised not only by how receptive people have been in a variety of different cultural backgrounds to the strategies for increasing their cultural competence so that they can meet a variety of needs outside of their own. But more importantly, I've been grateful for the positive impact those professionals have been able to have, pleasantly surprising those whom they support by how well they can understand, empathize, and effectively support beyond which they have personally experienced. No matter what role you're in, personally or professionally, I hope that you're able to find a way to reduce the risks and maximize the benefits of race specific as well as race neutral care so that everyone's needs can be met today, tomorrow, and moving forward. And with that, I'll say thanks again for listening to today's Diversity Dude podcast. If you have any pressing diversity related questions that you'd like me to address on an upcoming podcast, or if your organization is in need of a shame free or empowering guest speaker or training on this often sensitive topic, then feel free to reach out to me directly at www.diversitymadesimple.com. And if anyone else can benefit from a positive and encouraging perspective on this often difficult topic of diversity, feel free to send them a link to this podcast so they can be encouraged as well. Or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And don't forget to visit TED.com and check out my talk on what to do when you offend someone. I hope it inspires you and you share it with someone else so that they can be inspired as well. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.